paradrama tales.
At my brother's wedding, I was given a folding chair by the kitchen, while my ex-girlfriend got a prime seat near the couple's table. That was the moment I realized some people don't forget you. They just downgrade you. But this time, I didn't stay quiet. Growing up, Tyler was the golden child, the kind of kid who could crash a bicycle into the neighbor's car and still get praised for being adventurous. Me, I was Adrian, the fixer, the older brother who quietly patched up the damage, paid the bills, and somehow always ended up as the afterthought in my own family. If Tyler forgot someone's birthday, I sent a card. If he got arrested, I bailed him out. And if he forgot to say thank you, which he often did, I swallowed it, thinking that's what family does. I can't tell you how many times I was told to be the example. Adrian, you're older, my parents would say with tired eyes. He's still learning. But that learning curve. It stretched on for decades. When Tyler dented my car backing out of a party at 17, I paid the insurance. When he got caught stealing cologne at 21, I drove across town to the police station, no questions asked. And when he forgot to pay me back, which he always did, I reminded myself that I was doing it for the peace. But the truth is, peacekeepers often disappear in the process. Somewhere along the way, I became invisible, not out of shame, but out of design. I was the steady one, the quiet one, the one who didn't need recognition. And so, they stopped giving it. I was the guy behind the scenes making sure the house didn't fall, but no one thanked the beams for holding up the roof. By the time Tyler's wedding rolled around, I didn't expect to be front and center, but I thought I'd at least be acknowledged, seen, respected. Instead, I got a folding chair next to the swinging kitchen door, the same spot they reserve for plus ones who forget to RSVP. That moment wasn't just about a chair. It was years of being background noise while Tyler got the spotlight, even when he didn't earn it. And as I sat there surrounded by the clatter of dishes and the smell of burnt rosemary, I realized I wasn't just the ghost of this wedding. I'd been the ghost of this family for far too long. But ghosts don't stay quiet forever. Not this time. The first time I met Marissa, she barely looked at me. Her eyes skimmed over my face like I was part of the wallpaper, polite enough to acknowledge but not worth lingering on. Tyler had warned me she could be a bit much, but I didn't expect the kind of person who smiled without warmth and spoke like every conversation was an audition for something better. We met over dinner, just the three of us, and within 10 minutes she had managed to call my career in logistics cute and ask if I'd ever considered doing something more exciting. That should have been the warning bell, but I told myself, people say awkward things during first impressions, so I gave her the benefit of the doubt, again and again. Over the next 2 years, I watched her work every room like it was a game. Eye contact rare, compliments always calculated. She dressed like she was attending a red carpet event, even for brunch. And every time I saw her, she seemed distracted, like she was waiting for someone more important to arrive. She had a way of making me feel less. Not by yelling or arguing, but by simply not seeing me. Like I wasn't a real part of Tyler's world, just some inherited obligation. And Tyler. He soaked up her attention like a sponge. He was smitten. I get it. She was stunning, confident, and knew exactly how to shape a narrative. She could turn a glance into a statement and a smile into a power play. Still, I kept my distance. We were never going to be close, and I was fine with that. But when the wedding came around, I figured I'd at least be respected. Family is family, right? Except Marissa didn't see me as family. She saw me as an inconvenience, an extra seat, a space that could have gone to someone more photogenic. And when I realized she'd not only pushed me to the fold-out section, but seated my ex-girlfriend closer to the sweetheart table than me, that's when it clicked. This wasn't accidental. This was curated. Every detail of that wedding was designed to elevate her image and erase mine. And Tyler. He let her. Because to Marissa, I wasn't Adrian, the older brother, who helped plan the event and kept this family from falling apart for years. I was just another chair she didn't want in her perfect picture. I showed up early, not because I wanted attention, but because that's who I've always been, the guy who arrives ahead of time, checks in, helps, where needed. I brought a wrapped gift, a crystal decanter set I'd had engraved with their initials and wedding date. Something timeless, something that said, "You matter to me." I handed it off at the welcome table, where a clipboard-wielding coordinator looked up at me and asked, "You're Adrian, right?" I nodded. She scanned the list and frowned. "You're marked as a +1." I blinked. "I'm his brother." Her eyes widened. She stammered, clearly flustered. "That must be a mistake." But before she could correct it, Marissa swept in like a breeze that leaves everything a little colder. "Hey, Adrian," she said with that icy smile of hers. "Glad you could make it." Then casually, like she was discussing seating for a networking event, she added, "I told the planner about the chart. Hope you don't mind. We had to make tough calls space-wise. You sat me near the kitchen." "Not in the kitchen," she said quickly. "Just near it. It's where we put the plus ones. Since you didn't bring a date, we figured she trailed off, but the message had landed. I wasn't important. Not important enough to get a real table. Not even important enough to be labeled correctly." I walked into the reception area, past the rows of white linen tables, past the string lights and champagne flutes. I saw family members I hadn't spoken to in years with better seats than mine. And then I saw her Tessa, my ex. The one Tyler introduced me to. The one I found out later he'd kept in touch with behind my back. She was sitting 2 tables away from the sweetheart table, laughing, comfortable, seen. Meanwhile, my chair fold-out, jammed at the end of a table near the swinging kitchen door, where servers bustled past carrying trays of seafood and duck confit. It was hot, loud, and smelled like sweat and rosemary. I sat there for a minute, just long enough to hear the music start, just long enough to see the couple make their entrance, and just long enough to realize I didn't belong there. Not because I wasn't family, but because they'd made it clear they didn't see me as one. I stood up slowly. No tantrum, no broken glasses or dramatic shouting. Just a quiet motion, controlled intentional. I walked back to the welcome table, picked up the decanter I had gifted still boxed and untouched, and turned toward the exit. As I passed through the rows of white chairs and candlelit tables, I heard Marissa's voice rise above the clink of silverware. "Wait, Adrian, where are you going?" I stopped, turned just enough to meet her gaze, and said, "It flat. +1 this." The room didn't go silent, but it rippled. A few gasps, a smothered laugh. A few eyes turned away, pretending they hadn't heard what they definitely had. But I didn't wait for a response. I just kept walking. I didn't storm out. That's what made it worse for them, I think. I walked with the same energy I used to walk my mother to the doctor when Tyler had other plans. With the same patience I used when I handled his bail paperwork years ago. This wasn't a scene. It was a decision. As I hit the gravel in the parking lot, footsteps thudded behind me. Tyler, jacket unbuttoned, eyes wide with confusion, voice a little breathless. "Adrian, what the hell, man? Why are you leaving?" I turned. "You let her sit me by the kitchen." He faltered. "I didn't know. She handled the chart." "I thought it's not that big a deal, right?" I stared at him, then motioned toward the venue. "You gave my ex-girlfriend a better seat than your own brother." His silence said everything. I didn't yell. I didn't ask for an apology. I just looked at him. Really looked at him, and saw the boy who always handed off the blame, now trapped in the consequences. "I'm done being the one who swallows it all," I said quietly. "You and Marissa can have your perfect wedding, but I'm not going to be erased in it." Then I got in my car, placed the decanter box in the passenger seat, and drove. Not to home, just away, windows down, letting the night air cool something inside me that had burned too long. And that's when it hit me. I hadn't lost my temper. I'd reclaimed my self-respect. I didn't send angry texts. I didn't blast them online. I didn't call anyone to complain. I just went home, set the wedding gift on my kitchen counter, and sat in silence. And in that silence, I found something far more powerful than rage clarity. The next morning, while Tyler and Marissa were probably sipping champagne and posting curated honeymoon pictures, I opened my laptop. Not to rant, to recalculate. See, I work in logistics, event coordination, supply chains, crisis management. My job is quiet power, systems that run smoothly when no one notices, and fail spectacularly when someone like me steps back. First, I canceled the crystal glassware order I had scheduled to be delivered as a surprise gift to their apartment the following week. I redirected it to myself. It looked better in my cabinet anyway. Then I reached out to the photographer, another professional I had referred. I politely let her know I wouldn't be recommending her anymore if she honored their friends and family discount. She understood. Respect is currency in our business, and they'd bounced a check. Then came the catering company. Nancy, the owner, had thanked me personally for connecting her to this wedding. She didn't know about the way I'd been treated, so I told her, calmly, factually. She fell silent on the line. They underpaid the deposit, she finally said, and made last-minute changes to the guest list that nearly sank us. Honestly, Adrian, if you hadn't helped organize the back end, we wouldn't have pulled it off. That was all I needed, because it meant there were penalties, contracts, receipts, late fees. I didn't have to destroy them. They were already standing on a cracked foundation. They just didn't realize I'd stopped holding it up. I didn't reply to Tyler's follow-up emails, didn't answer the call from Marissa's mom. I let every string quietly fall from my hand. And when Tyler eventually reached out, not with an apology, but with a request, "Hey man, can you help us fix the honeymoon mess?" I drafted one sentence. Unfortunately, this +1 isn't accepting bookings anymore. I never hit send. I didn't need to. Because the most effective revenge isn't public or loud. It's letting them feel the absence of everything you used to hold together, quietly, completely, and without warning. It started with one invoice, just one. The catering company, after our conversation, decided to pursue the 25% penalty listed in their contract. See, Tyler and Marissa had failed to finalize the guest list by the deadline. They had underpaid. They changed meal plans 3 days before the wedding. All violations, all documented. Nancy didn't even sound angry when she filed the formal complaint, with the venue just tired. Tired of entitled couples thinking kindness equals compliance. Then came the bartender. I hadn't even spoken to him. But when Nancy triggered the breach clause, it created a ripple effect. He realized he too had been shortchanged, so he filed his own claim. Then, the florist. Apparently, Marissa had asked for just a few more arrangements at the last minute. No payment, no acknowledgement, just assumed gratitude. All of them followed the paper trail back to a central truth. My brother and his bride had burned bridges and were standing on a debt-laden island. The venue began withholding their security deposit. The late fees added up fast. Then came the real storm, social media. It was never about revenge, not really. But when my post, just a calm, factual slideshow, started gaining traction, I wasn't surprised. I'd included receipts, my own photos of me helping set up coordinating caterers, a screenshot of the seating chart that labeled me as +1 Tyler's brother, not even a name. The post was quiet, no tagging, no insults, just helped plan the wedding, got the caterer, was seated by the kitchen, bride said I should understand. So I left. That was it. But it hit like a brick through stained glass. People saw it, cousins who'd been confused, aunts who had assumed I was sick or volunteered to help, family friends who hadn't known I'd even been there. One message read, "I always wondered why you looked so out of place." Another said, "I didn't know they treated you like that. I'm so sorry." Tyler tried to do damage control. He made a family group chat. "Let's clear the air," he wrote. But when I replied, "I'll move forward when people take accountability, not when they call consequences drama," the silence was immediate. And that's when the real fallout began. Not from what I did, but from what they never thought I would. Speak. I didn't expect it to go viral, not really. I thought maybe a few cousins would see it, maybe someone from college. But the post hit something deeper, something people recognized in their own families, being the quiet one, the dependable one, the one who gets thanked privately but publicly erased. 2 days after I posted it, my phone started buzzing like it had something to prove. Messages from extended family, old classmates, even people I hadn't talked to in years. One wrote, "I remember your brother from high school. He was always charming, but you were the one who helped organize prom." Another said, "Your story made me cry. It's not about a chair, it's about respect." Then Tyler called. I didn't pick up. He left a voicemail. "Hey, so Marissa's mom saw your post. Now Marissa is freaking out. Her boss follows you. She thinks you're trying to ruin her image. Can you please just take it down?" I didn't reply. Instead, I made another post. Been asked to delete my last post. Apparently, the truth damages someone's image. I'll delete it if it wasn't 100% true. But it was. I won't be silenced for appearances. I spent too many years making myself small so others could shine. Never again. I didn't name anyone. I didn't need to. Truth doesn't need to shout when it walks in with receipts. That second post caught more attention. Someone forwarded me a screenshot from Marissa's workplace Slack channel, a vague but pointed reminder about professionalism on social media. And just like that, the curated Instagram perfect version of their wedding began to crack. Not because I tried to destroy it, but because I simply let people see behind the curtain. The fallout was fast. Aunts started texting. "I always wondered why you were near the kitchen." One cousin wrote, "Honestly, I thought you left because you were sick. Had no idea they did you like that." Within hours, the family group chat Tyler had created to control the story became an accidental confessional booth. And then Tyler left the group, and Marissa. She blocked me on everything, but for the first time in my life, I wasn't the one quietly backing away. I was standing still, letting them feel the absence of the brother who'd always held the walls up behind the scenes. And it was louder than any speech I could have made. Thanksgiving that year came with a weird kind of silence. Not the peaceful kind, more like the space between lightning and thunder, where everyone's bracing for the crash. My mom called the week before. "It would mean a lot if you came, Adrian. No drama, I promise." I hesitated. But I wasn't afraid of discomfort anymore. I said yes, not to keep the peace, but to reclaim my space. When I walked into the house, it was clear that the atmosphere had changed. Some cousins offered awkward smiles. My aunt looked like she wanted to say something, but didn't. Tyler was helping set up chairs in the living room. He saw me and froze. Then he gave a stiff wave. Marissa wasn't there. My mom whispered she had other plans, which in this family meant couldn't face the people who knew the truth. We all sat down. Tyler was unusually quiet through dinner, poking at his food, laughing too hard when someone cracked a joke. He kept glancing at me like he was waiting for a cue that everything was forgiven. I didn't give it to him. After dessert, while people were chatting and football played softly in the background, Tyler found me alone in the kitchen. "Thanks for coming," he said almost too quietly. I nodded. "Thanks for the letter." That opened the door. He exhaled. "I meant what I said. I was a fool. I let things get way out of hand." "You did," I replied, calm and steady. "And you let her treat me like a stranger at your wedding." He looked down. "I don't want it to be like that anymore." "You can want that," I said, "but you have to earn it." And to his credit, he didn't argue. He just nodded. Over the next few months, he tried. Small gestures. A text here. A random coffee drop-off there. He never brought up the wedding again. He just showed up. Like a brother. By spring, he invited me to his birthday cookout. No tuxedos, no centerpieces, no seating charts, just burgers and folding chairs in his backyard. He handed me the tongs and grinned. "You're on grill duty. Tradition right." It wasn't grand, but it was real, and sometimes real is all you need. The decanter I took back from the wedding still sits in my cabinet. I don't use it for scotch anymore. It holds iced tea now, or sometimes just water when I have friends over. It's no longer a symbol of bitterness. It's just glass, strong, clear, useful again. That's how I feel too. This story wasn't about a wedding or a chair by the kitchen. It was about decades of being unseen, unheard, and undervalued, and how sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away without burning the room down. Just leave the door open, let the silence speak, and give people the chance to either change or stay behind. Tyler chose to grow, not instantly, not perfectly, but he tried. And maybe that's enough. Not everyone will offer you a letter. Not everyone will hand you the tongs and say, "Let's start over." But if they do, if they mean it, listen. Not for them. For you. You're not a +1 in your own life. You don't have to keep setting the table for people who won't even save you a seat. And if this story meant something to you, share it. Someone else out there might be sitting in the corner of a room that should have been theirs all along, just waiting to hear that it's okay to stand up and walk out with their dignity intact. Because sometimes walking away is the start of finally coming home.